peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
A very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us today. And on this show, we're going to look at the ODP's report, progress on the fight against corruption. As we know, yesterday, the DPP Haji, came out and told Kenyans, according to this headline here on the Star newspaper, which I had told you earlier shall form our basis of conversation now, that Kenyans have stolen about 224 billion Kenya shillings in 3 years. And so far, he's saying 7 CSS, PSS, 11 governors, and 22 parastatal chiefs have been charged with corruption since 2017. And just before I bring in my panelist, let's just look at a quick look at that. And he's saying the cases concluded with the convictions as of June 2020 was 1, John Waluke, Grace Wakungu, and Erad Supplies, and they have been fined in total of 627 million Kenya shillings, and that involved the NCPB case. Then Juma Mwangala, former Youth Enterprise Fund CEO, who was fined 1 million Kenya shillings. Juma Opondo, who received a bribe, also was fined 1 million Kenya shillings or 10 years jail term. Weruma Muigai, Sophia Wanja Mugwe, and 2 others of the Pension Department fraud. That case, and they were fined 500,000 Kenya shillings each. John Juma Motsanza, Ayub Tuvaka, Howard Lugadilu, misuse of public funds. They were charged with that, and they were fined each 400,000 Kenya shillings or 2 years in jail. Dan Kangara Mburu, he was charged with stealing in suspect property, and he was fined about 1 million Kenya shillings or 1 year in jail. So a raft of other names that the DPP highlighted there that have been able to be properly prosecuted, successfully prosecuted, and also highlighting the war against corruption in this country. So joining me in this conversation, my name is Miriam Ogota, and joining me in this conversation is Professor Jared Onyari. Professor, good morning. Okay, as we wait for professors there to fix his signal, I'm joined by Jevan Karanja. Jevan, good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam, and good morning to our viewers wherever they are watching us from. Thank you.
All right, very well. Professor, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam, Javan, and our viewers.
Okay, and Daniel Wesonga, very good morning to you. All right, so as we wait for Daniel there to join us, so let's just look at this report yesterday by the office of the ODP's office here, and it says in its consolidated report covering between 2017 and 2020, the office of the ODPP identified corruption as a strategic area of focus. This it did because the office identified corruption as a major threat to the country, socially, economically, and politically. And through collaboration with other stakeholders in the justice system, the office was able to register a number of successes in prosecuting corruption cases, as I have read there on the Star newspaper. And some of the successes that the ODP has adopted in the fight against corruption include establishment of specialized division to handle corruption cases, strategic focus on high-impact cases, establishment of the proceeds of crime recovery unit, involvement of experts from across different fields, and also asset recovery. And another one is adoption of alternatives to prosecutions such as plea bargaining and deferred prosecutions. And the last one is other measures also that the ODP is adopting to ensure that corruption is properly dealt with in this country, knowing very well that the institution he's heading is quite important when it comes to the fight against corruption in this country. Professor, I'll just start by, just posing a very basic but important question, because you've seen corruption It's another pandemic that we have in this country, so much so that it was also captured on the BBI report. This is one of the things that Kenyans said we must deal with. Should we have a developed country? Should we have medicine in our public hospitals? Should we have proper education system? Should we have our lives the way we deserve to have? Then corruption is something that we want the government to deal with. So why is the fight against corruption important?
Miriam, you can hear from the report the Director for Prosecution has given Miriam. 224 billion things, Miriam. That's not 100 things or 1,000 or 100, Miriam. Those are 224 billion, Miriam. You have seen how much money we have raised to fight this pandemic, corona pandemic. I think this amount is more than that pandemic. So corruption is not only a pandemic, it's cancer. It will destroy a country, Miriam. We will not be able to give services to the people. We will not be able to build roads. We will not be able to attend to our education. We are not even be able to pay our doctors, Miriam, the health workers. They are on strike. The justice system, Miriam, in the judiciary, we don't have enough judges, Miriam. And imagine, Miriam, through corruption, this money is going to have just a few individuals. So corruption, Miriam, and even in the BBI, Miriam, we have identified, corruption was identified as one of the things, one of the obstacles of the challenge this country is facing, Miriam. You know what Miriam does? You allocate money to do a road, to do a dam, Kimorera and a road dam. 63 billion just disappears that way, Miriam. So basically, to be very straight and candid to your question, Miriam, corruption is a cancer. It's a pandemic. It's even worse than a pandemic. It will destroy a country, Miriam. And hear this, Miriam, when the country cannot be able to create employment for its young people, we will have young people joining terror groups like Al-Shabaab, like terrorists, Miriam. And you need to see what terrorists can do to a country, Miriam. When the young people are finishing in school, year in, year out, Miriam, and they are not able to be observed in the job market, Miriam, you see what they can be able to do. They can destroy a country. It is, the president said the young people, if they are not properly attended, is a bomb which is waiting to explode in time. And why is this happening, Miriam? It is because money meant to develop this country, to improve the quality of life of the people of this country, is being squandered. So corruption is a pandemic, Miriam.
All right, very well. And before we come there and highlight some of the things that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, or DPP, Mr. Haji, there highlighted that an audit report he's done and what his office has been able to achieve. Let's just take a look back and perhaps help Kenyans understand why this fight against corruption is very important. Before that, Karanja, why is this fight against corruption important from where you stand?
Thank you very much, Miriam. And we know that corruption is a pandemic, as Dr. Professor is saying. And Miriam, we know all the onset of this corruption that we have in this country. I think for me, I take it back to the leadership that we have in this nation and the kind of citizens that we have. Miriam, if we have good citizens who can be able to stand up against corruption, and we have leaders who implement and fight this pandemic of corruption to the end, then this pandemic will be eradicated in this nation and it will be a thing of the past. Miriam, a lot of Kenyans, leave alone the leaders that we have in this country, Kenyans engage in corruption in day-to-day basis. Miriam, if you want to get employment, you will hear people saying that if you want to be recruited to go to the army, you must give them a 300,000 as a bribe. These are things that Kenya have normalized. Therefore, this kind of corruption, this is what it breeds the kind of money scoffing that we have in the ministry in the government ministries. Therefore, this is something that have come from, it has originated from the people of Republic of Kenya. This is like our culture. And the best way we can do is we Kenyans, we come together with the government, we join hands, Miriam, because we know, Miriam, even these things like the spiders, they have the webs. And if the spiders joins together and they form webs, they can even catch a lion, they can even hook these big animals in those webs. Therefore, we must unite together so that we form a very strong web that will be able to catch every corrupt individual in this nation, and they suffer the consequences. Miriam, this is something that should also go back to the family levels, coming upward, so that we form a hierarchy of successful fight against corruption. Miriam, the amount that have been lost in those 3 years, that amounts to $250 billion. That is almost $250 billion is amount that can do mega projects in this country. That were Kenyans who are denied services. Those were patients who are denied medication. Those were students who are denied good schools. Those are Kenyans who are denied basic facilities that they need in this nation. Those are Kenyans who are denied infrastructural development. These are Kenya who suffered because the dams were not constructed. Stadiums for our players were not put in place. Therefore, these are things that Kenyans are denied good livelihoods because of this corruption. Miriam, I was looking at that amount, and I have come to know that that amount of 260, you have talked of 260 billion in 3 years. Miriam, if you subdivide it into 1 year, you'll get that is almost 80, let me call it 80 billion per year. And when you divide it into 365 days, you get it almost 250,000. That is the amount of money that have been lost. And that is the amount that we know, 250,000 being lost every day in this country. That is huge amount of money. That is money that can change this country. Therefore, we must join hands to fight this war, because this is a pandemic, and a pandemic is fought by a friend and an enemy together so that they win it successfully.
Mm-hmm. All right. And of course, the money that has been lost, according to the DPP, is 224.5 billion Kenya shillings. Definitely not a small amount of money. And the taxpayers, we Kenyans, have lost that money since the Jubilee administration took office for a second term in 2017. To mid this year, a report by the public prosecutor now shows Professor, before we even go further, 224.5 billion Kenya shillings. Translate that to the Kenyan public and what this money what does this mean to the Kenyan public?
Unmute, Professor.
All right, Daniel, you here? Go ahead. In terms of what it could have done if Kenyans would have.
Yeah, what I'm saying, Miriam,
yes.
it can be able to finance more than 40 counties. Are you get that one? Mm-hmm. So we will not be able to be talking about even this 35%, Miriam. Money could have been even be available at the grassroots. The same money, Miriam, could be able to finance the education in this, the education, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Health, and the Minister of Interior, Miriam. That's how serious. This is how serious it is, Miriam. We could be able to have done even more than 5,000 kilometers of roads. You can imagine how this country can be, Miriam. We could be able to have done more than 60 what? Dams. The whole of northeastern and same arid areas, Miriam. We will not be talking about water, Miriam. Mm-hmm. We could have been able to create job opportunities, Miriam. We could have even been able, Miriam, to give higher education board to our university students for our 2 years without them complaining. Miriam, the money could have even gone to the bursary, Miriam. The money could have done a lot of money. We could have even taken electricity to all homes in this country, Miriam. Mm-hmm. It is money wasted, Miriam. It's a total spillage and wastage of money.
So how
if we can be able to see the loopholes, Miriam, you cannot be imagined. Even your rural area, Miriam, all the roads in Nyanza will be tarmacked.
So
or Western,
yes,
for that matter, or Central.
So when you look at all these things, Professor, that you're outlining, those are the key things that the normal Mwananchi, the normal Kenya, those are kind of services and things they want for them to be provided for. Those are their needs, as we know. And seeing how much corruption is denying them this opportunity for them to have all these things that they should be having. How outraged should Kenyans be when they wake up in the morning and they see this is how much some few individuals have decided to steal from us? Daniel.
Miriam, yes, and I believe the rot about such has really encroached our fabric as Kenyans in terms of morality. In that even Kenyans themselves, they don't see corruption as quite a big evil that really denies them quite essential services. You know, when you go to a hospital and you cannot get drugs in the hospital, when you go to the hospital and there is no medical practitioners to attend to you, it means that perhaps the money which was meant to pay the salaries of a medical practitioner, a nurse, a doctor to be their clinical officer, the money which was meant to buy drugs and stock the pharmacy of the hospital has been diverted somewhere else. And therefore, corruption is not only a disaster to the government of the day, but also to the common Mwananchi, because the trickle effect really reaches to the grassroots of the citizenry. And as Jevan said, you know, corruption has to be declared as a national pandemic. And as a national pandemic, it has to be fought viciously. It has to be fought with goodwill. It has to be fought by each and every one of us in the society, from the top leadership to the political class to the common Mwananchi. Because corruption, when leaders engage in corruption, it means that the young people of this country, the youth of this country, will not have a country to inherit. When you steal 224 billion shillings in a span less than a decade, then it means that perhaps we are losing a lot of money which was meant to grow our infrastructure into the pockets of a few selfish individuals. And 224 billion is not a pocket change, Miriam. This is the amount of money which can construct half of Thika superhighway, a very massive infrastructure. And even if it were to buy medicines in all the 47 counties of the Republic, in the hospitals, it will buy medicine and still remain some money to do some work and buy some equipments here and there. And I think it's very unfortunate that we just let that pass under the bridge, because maybe when the Director of Public Prosecution and the DCI start now arraigning people who have been accused of corruption in the corridors of justice, you will hear the talk of our man, our person being witch-hunted, taking center stage. And that is how it all goes until these cases are forgotten. So I think the BBI report, whatever it talks about national ethics and ethos, really brings to life that sense of nationhood, the sense to combat corruption and be always responsible for one's country. So that is the reason why I feel like Kenyans should really read the BBI report, read the recommendations that have been put there against the war on corruption, and also measures that have been put in place to ensure that whoever sees any act of corruption or whoever suspects any corruption dealings in their department of work, in their office, in their dealings with the government officials or fellow citizens, can be able to go and report the matter to relevant authorities and receive a witness protection guarantee. So that is the way we should do things. And I believe with the BBI report, if we really commit ourselves to implementing whatever that has been recommended there, then we're gonna achieve a milestone. And also, it will go without saying that perhaps for over 50 years since independence, the current office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has taken quite a milestone when you compare with the previous offices. Of course, it is only during the era of President Uhuru Kenyatta that we've seen very senior government officials being accused of corruption scandals, being arraigned in court and being charged, and actually some have ended up in jail, like Waluke and his co-accused. And of course, also we've seen even the topmost cabinet ministers in President Uhuru Kenyatta's government being arraigned in court. So I believe the DPP has really achieved more, and if we can empower and really finance and facilitate the office of the Directorate of Public Prosecution, as well as the DCI, as it is stipulated in the BBI report, I believe we're gonna take these fight against corruption to a wavelength high, and at the end of the day, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. However, as it is right now, let the Kenyan citizens also take a responsibility upon themselves to aid in the war against corruption. That is how we shall be able to win this fight, Miriam.
All right, very well. And as I said there, the story was on the front pages, the main headline on the Star newspaper, and so highlighting that report that was handed over to President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Nudin Haji there. So despite Uhuru's ruthless war on graft, claiming top state officials, among them cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, and governors, the pace of prosecution has been slow. And I think that was just one of the key concerns that Kenyan raised. Remember when we were going through corruption, the bridge report here, when we were looking at it a couple of days ago, and we're looking on corruption, and we're seeing one of the key things that Kenyans raised concern on was the first one, in fact, the speedy prosecution and conclusion of cases involving corruption and criminal wastage of public resources. So that was also one of the key things that the ODPP there was able to observe, that as much as these cases they're being taken to him, after that the court has to take over, and from there on, the prosecution is very slow sometimes. Are there possibilities of perhaps because some of these laws, can be formulated there in our courts to change or to make more effective these laws that govern, corruption cases? Should we change our laws to ensure that they're able to deal with corruption as effective as possible, in tandem with how they're even putting a time frame on even when and how these cases are supposed to be charged in our courts? Is that something that we really need to amend with some urgency there, Karanja?
Yeah, thank you very much. And that is something that is a matter of not emergency or what. This is something that could even have started from 2017 or 2013, or even in the culmination of our independence, because these are something that we have carried on from generations, and we pass it to the next generation. Therefore, this kind of a generational problem. Therefore, we must deal it with a matter of urgency, with a matter of whatever it will take. Miriam, we have said that corruption is a pandemic in this country. Miriam, when COVID-19 came, we all joined hands together. Miriam, you saw what the government did. The governors came together. The Wananchi were given protocols to follow so that we avoid spreading this COVID-19. Miriam, that kind of a mechanism, that is what we should use to fight this COVID-19. We should have those protocols such that even the common Wananchi will know their responsibility in the fight against corruption. Miriam, as we stand now, even if you find a public officer taking bribes, you don't know where to start, where to get, because at the end of the day, you might find even losing your life. These kind of things, we must get some protocols that even the citizens of this country will be included in the fight against corruption, so that we make it look like a pandemic that it is. We are sugarcoating this corruption to a point of people are thinking is an economic activity that can be used to eliminate poverty in this nation. Some young people think that corruption is like a career because it has been sugarcoated. It looks good, it looks beautiful. Therefore, we must make it look bad as it is, and we must involve the public so that if you see even the police officer taking bribes in our roads, you can line off the car and you talk to them, and you shame them, and at the end of the day, those police officers will run away, and the next time they will not take those 50 bob that they take from our PSV vehicles. Miriam, also the best and the other thing, Miriam, before I answer your question, is the politicians. Politicians are the stumbling block towards the fight against corruption. Why? Because Kenyans into kind of tribal groupings and ethnic groups. So you have heard Wesonga say that they come and say that our man is being targeted, our community is being targeted. This of war against corruption is not fair. Therefore, the politician must have political goodwill to fight this pandemic all together so that we eliminate it once and for all. Because the government of the day is trying to fight this pandemic. We know this is a pandemic that cannot be fought in one day. But those people who are supposed to assist the government to fight this pandemic are the ones who are causing all this kind of confusion, because they are saying, oh, our MD was targeted, our people are being targeted. So they incite the people from their community that this war against corruption is not fair. That is something that is making all this confusion, because
very well. We seem to be having a bit of a signal issue there with the German Karanja, but once he's able to get back to us, then he will continue with...
because of his...
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, we seem to have missed your last thoughts there because we lost you there for a few seconds, but it's okay. I'll come back to you. So now, Professor, we've seen President Uhuru Kenyatta has been quite ruthless in the war against corruption, and this war has claimed top government officials, including some of his cabinet ministers, some principal secretaries, some very important people in this country that he put in these parastatals. What does this say about President Uhuru Kenyatta's commitment to the war against corruption in Kenya?
That's a good question, Miriam. For us to succeed in the fight against corruption, Miriam, it needs a political goodwill. And since the president and the prime minister entered on the handshake, Miriam, we have seen a political goodwill. We have seen support towards the institutions charged with fighting corruptions. Miriam, in the history of this country, this is the first time you can attest that the Minister for Finance, together with his secretary, are not in office. Others, they were being told you can step aside, you can do what, but this one, they are not in office, Miriam. We have had several principal secretaries, they are not in office, Miriam. Where we see, Miriam, to losing the war on corruption, if you have got political goodwill, Miriam, coming from the president himself and the prime minister, then where are we gotten stuck? It is on the judicial. The wheel of justice is moving very, very slowly, Miriam. And even in this BPI report, Miriam, I am not satisfied on it when it comes to corruption, Miriam. My recommendation and my feeling is that anybody who has committed economical crimes, Miriam, should not be given bond, should not be given bail. Perhaps if they can hear that one, when they know, when this big fish knows that they can be in jail, Miriam, that's the worst thing they fear, Miriam. And Miriam, we should proceed to strengthen the laws so that once, and I can see that the recommendation is in the BPI, that once you have stolen the money and we are raising them, your bank account should be frozen, so that you don't get this money to hire sophisticated lawyers, pattern of lawyers, to buy judges, to buy witnesses, Miriam. If we have to succeed, Miriam, we have to be ruthlessly have laws which fights corruption. So the responsibility now is on the judiciary. And I hope if we pass PBI, Miriam, a period of 2 years, Miriam, we have disposed of the case. If you are innocent, you go home. If you don't have, you don't have a case, you return to your work. Miriam, this one will take the country forward. And on President Uhuru Kenyatta, when it comes to his legacy on corruption, Miriam, history will judge him fairly because he has seen a commitment from his end.
All right, very well. And just to tie on that question and the answer there that Professor has given Daniel, these people that have been charged, government officials that have been charged with corruption, and some of these cases, most likely they'll be found guilty, but we're waiting to see how the court will prosecute the ruling and the judgment from the court there. But should they be found guilty, should these people be allowed to ever serve in public? How punitive can we make our corruption laws in this country so that anybody who thinks about coming up to serve in public or hold a public office, or you've been given the privilege of serving us, because it is a privilege to serve the people of Kenya, how should we make laws in line with corruption that will ensure that anybody who serves in that office, one, has not been caught in any form of corruption scandal before, and two, if you're involved in corruption when you're in office, you will never get the privilege again to serve anywhere in a public office. Should we have one of those, like that in even as we look at the BBI and the fight against corruption and the laws that govern the fight against corruption in the country?
Miriam, when you look at China as a country, it's one of the perhaps few countries that have been able to successfully fight and get rid of itself the systemic corruption that for so many decades really bedeviled its economy and choked its growth to modernity. And in China, we have what we call the spirit of guanxi, like, you are indebted to your family. You have to help your family whenever you can. So this was something which was culturally really embedded into their way of life. And perhaps that is why China was a corrupt country from the very basic units of its nationhood, that is the family. But despite all that entrenched culture of corruption amongst the Chinese people, the subsequent Chinese governments have been able to bring to life a very robust changes when it comes to legislation and just rules when regarding corruption. And in China, you'll be told, I remember there was a time the former local government minister, Muskari Kombo, said that he was in China for a week conference, for a week-long conference. And for the 1 week that he was in China, almost 3 ministers were were hanged in corruption-related cases. So to me, I think we have to borrow a leaf from countries which have successfully rooted out corruption from their systems. And that goes with putting together very stringent rules and measures that ensures that whoever is found to have stolen any public money undergoes through very severe punitive measures, and that includes long jail sentences, seizing of assets that have been stolen from the public, and also any profits that accrue to such particular proceeds. Such particular proceeds, and also we have to make it sure that whenever you've been blemished with corruption, whenever your reputation, you have a court case that has been confirmed that really you stole public money, then you are blacklisted. You can never serve the government of Kenya at any particular capacity. You cannot even transact or do business or maybe take a tender from the government of the day. So that should be the way forward, because if you can steal money from the public, then we have to make sure that the consequences are so severe that anyone else who comes after you thinks of stealing public money, they'll never even attempt to take such particular direction. Mm-hmm. So we have to make corruption, to incentivize corruption. We have to make it unattractive. We have to make people believe in diligence, to people to believe in hard work, people to believe that you can make it, you can succeed without necessarily stealing public money. So I think, Miriam, I agree with you that we have to put in place very stringent punitive measures and also blacklisting those who have been found to have stolen public money. And blacklisting is not only to in doing tenders with the government or maybe seeking employment in government, but also even seeking elective positions. And I believe that all that has been exposed in the BBI report. And that is why, Miriam, I'll say it for the umpteenth time that let Kenyans read the report and let us support the BBI report to the last man. That is it.
All right, very well. And in case you're wondering, we're looking at the ODPP's report, the progress that he handed over to President Uhuru Kenyatta, the report progress that he handed over to President Kenyatta on Monday, highlighting some of the things that his office has been able to achieve for 3 years now. Remember, he's been in office for 3 years now, if I'm not very wrong. So on Monday, he handed over that report. I would like to see a report by the former prosecutor, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutor there, Alquanto Tobiko. I'd like to see and compare notes, but Haji made this report available. So on that, he says the period of reporting also saw 53 cases involving top government officials. The cases involved CSAs and PSAs, and that is 7 cases. Governors and senior deputy officials, 11 cases. Directors, CEOs, 22 cases. MPs, 7 cases. Deputy county commissioners and senior officials, 1 case. MCAs, 5 cases. So we see in this list, apart from directors and CEOs, the next people who have accounted for the many, the people who have been involved in corruption in top government officials are the governors, the same people, Professor, who are telling us you cannot hold us accountable for the mismanagement of the monies in the counties. I think they must have known this report was handed over on Monday by President Uhuru Kenyatta. So our governors were meeting somewhere in Naivasha between that period. I'm sure they saw it somewhere, and so now they're saying, we have to protect ourselves because the law is coming for us. I mean, is it safe to say that, judging from what we've been seeing going on in court, of course, a lot of these governors, we know others, if some auditor would go into the counties, and we've seen that from the Auditor General, the report that has been coming out from all our counties, majority of our counties, mismanagement of public funds, and some don't even know, and the way the monies are being used and the priorities there is not correct. So by them coming out and saying, and one of the things that they were demanding to be included in the BBI is that they're not held criminally responsible for mismanagement of monies from in their counties. And we see that the second lot there with the highest number of people who are in court in matters involving corruption. Is it safe to say that, they're afraid? Karanja?
Okay, thank you, Miriam. And I agree, and we must also give a credit where is due. And we say that the DPP has done a very good work with the combination with the DCI and the other bodies that are fighting hard to ensure that this corruption is dealt with squarely, so that we eliminate it and we eradicate it for sure. And Miriam, those people have been taken to court. Those are not small fish. They qualify to be called medium. They are medium fish, because we are still here to get the bigger fishes in matters corruption in this country. But that is a good thing, and that is the way we need to go. Miriam, if we continue doing with the same spirit, then Kenyans will start having trust in the institution of the DPP, in the institution of the DCI, because we will be sure that the evidence that they are producing in our court is evidence that is well investigated, and the court will have evidence and enough grounds to make these people suffer punitive punishment, to serve jail sentences, and that is the way we want to go in the fight against corruption. And Miriam, you have talked of laws that we have in this country. Miriam, we might have the best laws in this country, we might have the best institutions dealing with the corruption, but if we don't have political goodwill from the leaders of this nation, this war will be set back. will suffer a setback, because these leaders, they are the one who control the judiciary. They are the one who control the DPPs and other institutions. They might be look independent in the constitution, but if we have a collapsed leader in the helm of leadership, he will interfere with independence of our institutions. Miriam, that is why I say the responsibility of having a conducive and prosperous nation lies with the people of this country. It's not a matter of saying that we have these rules and so on. If we have these rules and we vote corrupt individuals in these positions of power, we vote corrupt governors, corrupt president, corrupt deputy president, and so on, then this country will not win the war against corruption, because these are the people who control these all other intelligences. And if we have a corrupt president, for example, how will he deal with other corrupt individuals when he suffers the same fate? These are the kind of things that we must avoid in future. So we Kenyans also, we must have that chance to vote wisely. Miriam, and I would like even to ask the rest of the panelists, why are so politicians are the main culprits of corruption? Because they know if you don't have money, you cannot get substantial votes to take you to that elective position. So they go there, they steal these monies, so that when they come to campaign in our regions, they'll be beating out this money so that they can secure their re-election. Therefore, Miriam, this is something that is a circle. That is why I say Kenyans, they are also to be blamed, because when I receive 1,000, 2,000 to vote for you, what will happen? Miriam, I feel like if we vote for somebody because you have given money and those money are proceedings of corruption, you have no right to question if they continue to loot they continue to loot the public resources, because at the end of the day, you sold your right, you sold your powers to question the resources, to question the money that you are giving you. So you continue doing that, and you continue having no powers to continue when they continue with these things of corruption. Therefore, Miriam, we must also enlighten our Kenyans the consequences of corruption, so that when we vote, when we go on the ballot, we start on dealing with the leaders and starting looking at them, doing that kind of analysis, so that we get leaders who are corrupt-free, leaders who have not associated in any manner in any form of corruption, so that we'll be sure that we have leaders who will be able to implement these rules. Miriam, you cannot form rules a herd of sheep. They cannot form rules that are very good on how they will secure good grazing fields, good water, and so on. Then you bring a hyena to implement such kind of rules. That is a failure. That will not work, and that is the problem we have in our nation.
All right, Professor, just your thoughts on this, the names here that have been given, and of course, governors and senior deputy officials, which is one person, one senior deputy commissioner, but governors, about 11 cases there right now are being investigated, and they have cases in court in regards to corruption, and then they're here telling us that now you cannot hold us accountable for the mismanagement of monies involving the counties. Are they honest?
Miriam, if there's the highest level of dishonest is coming from our governors. Miriam, let me just give you a very simple arithmetic, Miriam. And let people know, the person who is supposed to be given a few hours, the way the Rachel Moyoingo Dinga used to say, to govern this country, is this man talking to you. The government hands 1 million per month. In a year, it is 12 million, Miriam. For 5 years, that is 60 million. Then a governor comes here in Karen, he buys land, an acre in Karen goes for 100 million, Miriam. And he buys several pieces of them, the governor for Samburu. Miriam, do you need to be told that this man has stolen? Meaning you only save Miriam to go and buy land. You don't eat, you don't educate your children, you don't attend to anybody else. Even if you have taken the loan, Miriam, how do you service it? Which governor in this country, Miriam, even some of these MCAs, Even some of these MCS, Miriam, in the rural areas, Miriam, they are even having better houses than members of parliament. And these are just Form 4 dropouts, Miriam. Mm-hmm. I'm not against that, but you can see, Miriam, their salary is around 200 and something, Miriam. But you can see the kind of things they do, Miriam. So, Miriam, from where I sit, you don't need to you don't need to allege that these governors are corrupt. They are corrupt. Let them just go and accuse me that I've said they are corrupt. I can just look at their face. Look at their face, the way it is shining. You see money. You find a governor giving money for his children, pocket money, 5 million. The governor for Migori. And you want to tell me, Miriam, 3 years ago or 2 years ago, before you became a governor, you were not giving that money. Where has that money come from? They are trying to hide that they should not be held accountable, Miriam. All the money which is being taken by the finance officers, Miriam, they are the one to say, Miriam, get this tender, Daniel have this one, pay them, now I have said. Mm-hmm. You have had from Nairobi Metropolitan Services, Miriam, the kind of correction of the money they are correcting now, and you could see some of the investment even the former governor was trying to do, Miriam. So, Miriam, we need to tighten our laws when it comes to corruption if we have to save corruption. The enemies of the enemies of devolution, Miriam, the enemies of devolution are the governors themselves. Mm-hmm. And you know, sometimes even when they are called to come and appear before the Senate, they don't want to come. Why do you fear to come if there's nothing you are hiding? You just send junior officers. You saw the governor from Nairobi, in the name of Governor Sonko, he was invited to go to the Senate and he cannot go to the Senate. The money is in the banks, Miriam, and the doctors cannot be paid. And then you tell me yourself you are a leader. You know, there's this mentality in this country, and this is what I did in project management training, Miriam, that if there is no money for people to take for corruption for a route, even if there is money to do a project, Miriam, to build a road, to construct a dam, to build a school, to buy drugs in the hospital, Miriam, there is no money. So money for corruption must be there. Very unfortunate, Miriam, from these our governors, and see the kind of demands these people are giving, and then you wonder, in other jurisdiction, Miriam, when you become a governor, you become a senator, the next level you go is for the president of a country. Are these the people you can trust want to become a president of this country? The country will just go enter Indian Ocean and sink and sink. I submit.
All right, so of the graft cases pending in court, 57%. We are looking, remember our viewers, we are looking at the progress report by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions that he handed over to President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday, highlighting from 2017 what his office has been doing in the war against corruption. So of the graft cases pending in court, 57% were registered between January 2018 and June this year, while 43% were registered before 2018. DPP Haji said Monday he was confident they had made progress in the fight with an average conviction rate of 63.16%. So that is above average. And a total of 220 cases were registered during the period under the review. At least 26 of these were registered as of June 2020, 78 in 2019, and 116 in 2018. This number of cases in court was a clear indication of the concerted efforts by the office in collaboration with other stakeholders in the fight against graft for the 3 years, the DPP said. According to the report, 238 cases were conducted, of which 20 were dispensed of as of June 2020, 103 in 2009, and 115 in 2018. This record of conclusion of corruption cases is attributed to the strategies employed by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution in the fight against corruption, and we shall see some of those strategies there and see perhaps how it's working and perhaps how they can better it here. And of course, 3 years ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta made drastic changes at the office of the DPP and Director of Criminal Investigations, appointing Haji and George Kinoti, respectively, to rid the country of graft. Would you say President Uhuru Kenyatta made the right choice in putting these people in place in the fight against corruption in these very important institutions? Daniel?
Is unmuted. It's muted.
All right,
Daniel, unmute.
Karanja, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. And one thing, I must give credit to President Uhuru Kenyatta for bringing those brilliant minds at the helm of these institutions that fight corruption in this nation. That was a very good step because, Miriam, you see, the DPP and all other institutions that are fighting corruption, they are telling us they have done above average. That is something that is quite commendable, and we appreciate them for standing for our country. Miriam, going forward, we want to see more of these people being aligned to court, even the bigger fishes being taken, big fish taken to court, so that at the end of the day, Kenyans will have trust that this war on corruption is a serious war that is being fought right and left, and nobody will be spared who is culprit of corruption cases in this nation. And we also have these cases even to our police officers who have been also found to be corrupt. They have been taken to court. Therefore, this is something that is quite significant. It's something that is bearing good fruits. And going forward, I foresee a situation whereby this foreign corruption will be fought. Miriam, I was saying something about the Kenyan citizen. Miriam, unless this corruption paints us to the last point, so that we feel the pinch of corruption, Miriam, Kenyans will not react to the corruption cases in this country. Miriam, I wish we had a situation whereby these corruption cases were so much, so big, so huge, such that every Kenyan in this nation will have a reason to walk even in the streets demanding for a corrupt-free nation. So such point where everything is so deplorable that Kenyans will open their eyes and see the kind of a situation that is staring on us. But because we are not yet there, let's have rules before we get to such a situation, because that is what happens in other jurisdictions. When these corruptions get rampant and they increase day in and out, Kenyans and the citizens, they are left with no other choice but to go on the streets, demonstrate, protest, so that their voice can be heard. But before we get to that situation, Miriam, let's have good rules, laws that will ensure that this war on corruption is dealt with. Let's have speedy cases of corruption being taken to court and a determination made in time, so that these people receive their sentence before they enjoy the proceedings of corruption. Because, Miriam, the more we take time investigating and doing all these manner of things, these people are having good time enjoying in London, in Singapore, and in Dubai. They are going there for holidays and are spending the same money that they stole from our public coffers and public banks, public stores. Therefore, this is something that we must avoid. And something else, we must make this corruption so punitive, such that everybody, even in private sector, in public sector, in any sector of our lives, will fear to engage in this manner of activities. And by doing that, we must make sure that these people, they suffer life imprisonment. They suffer, they return back the amount that they have stolen. And they must also go for the interest that they made with that corruption money, so that these people suffer and they suffer hard, so that they be an example to others who will follow in future. That is my take, and I feel like we are heading in the right direction. And answering your question, yes, the president is trying, is doing much, and we want to see him do much as he completes his term, so that he will set a standard on who will success him in 2022, so that he will have somewhere to read on. You have somewhere to look up to. You will have a manual, let me call it a manual, to look into when it comes to fight against corruption, because the president is really setting the standards, he is really setting the bar up there, so So the person who will come after President Uhuru Kenyatta will have a journey that has already been started. So he will come and continue the way things continue on the fight against corruption, following the steps that the president is trying hard to make sure that are put in place.
Professor, these changes that President Uhuru Kenyatta made about 3 years ago in putting new people in the office of the DPP, the office of the DCI, and also the EACC, President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed Twali Mbarak there to head that institution. And we know these three institutions are the core of when it comes to the war against corruption in the country. They're tasked with this very important responsibility. Did President Uhuru Kenyatta put the right people in place from your own assessment?
Miriam, when you just look those three gentlemen, you look at Kinoche, you look at the one for EACC, you look at Nodin. You know, those have got the background of training of Miriam of disciplined forces. Miriam, those are intelligence people. They have worked in national intelligence service. Miriam, they know. They have been. These are the kind of reports they have been fighting. They are disciplined. Miriam, look at Major Badi in Nairobi. Miriam, these are people who are disciplined. Even when you look at their face, Miriam, you can see passion for their job and passion for the love for their country, and you can see their hatred for corruption, Miriam. Miriam, unless you have got passion on what you do, you can't make any move. So, Miriam, the president was properly advised, and you can see the results, Miriam. You can see for the first time you were asking Tobiko, did Tobiko file a report like this? At least now you can see, we can be able to identify where we have gone wrong, Miriam. I can bet for sure, if BBI go through Miriam and the recommendation we have put on corruption, Miriam, and these gentlemen are there, Miriam, some of those people who are corrupt will take off. Because we will now, we will want Miriam now the courts. You know, we have almost known where the problem is, Miriam. It is on the judicial. We want proper investigation to be done. Now, some of the prosecutors before, they were, and the investigators, Miriam, they were doing short investigation, Miriam, which cannot stand in court. But you have been seeing the director for prosecution, Miriam, when the file is taken to him, Miriam, he goes, go and investigate further. That one tells you, Miriam, this is the person who understands. And Miriam, who tells you that having an intelligence background, Miriam, they don't know exactly when the case comes before, they share the intelligence. So when you try to tell us a half-baked investigation, Miriam, they will tell you, no, go and do this one. We have seen so many files being returned to anti-corruption, the director for prosecution, go and put more evidence, so that when the case goes to court, and Miriam, that's how he has managed to succeed in some of the cases which have gone through. Miriam, see the one for Waruke. He arranged that he had some money, he had some maize, he put them in the warehouse in South Africa, Miriam. Investigators were to go to that garage, and Miriam, and they told Miriam, no, we have never had those kind of business, and we were able to now to ensure that no maize came to this country. So Miriam, on this one, I give the thumbs up to the president. That was a good decision.
Made a good choice. All right, very well, Daniel. I don't know if you're back.
Yes, Miriam, I'm back.
All right,
and,
all right. No,
yes.
Before you come in. Okay, I just needed to confirm because I looked for you a few minutes ago and I think you had a problem with your signal there. So we know we're looking at the progress report by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions that was presented to President Uhuru Kenyatta on Monday. But we also know that the ODPP does not work in isolation. He works and his job is made a success by the concerted efforts of these other very important offices, and that is the DCI, and that is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and that is the Kenya Revenue Authority, financial reporting centers, asset recovery agencies, and all of that. They like all their efforts put together, we're able to have a successful fight against corruption. And in the past, we've seen a bit of what seems to be misunderstandings play out in public. And I know since the coming of these new faces in these important institutions, somewhat Kenyans began having some confidence that, perhaps these will be the people who can do the job. But when some of these misunderstandings play out in public, as a Kenyan, what would you advise these very important offices and the leadership that we're having there, the ODPP, the DCI, the EACC, and the importance in this country, and why sometimes, even if there seems to be a misunderstanding, why it is important maybe not for it to come out in the publics, because Kenyans have some faith in these institutions, but when some things come out in public in a way that there seems to be some tag of some push and pull, might not augur well. And what does things like that sometimes do, and perception it creates in the minds of Kenyans, in terms of their confidence in these institutions, why it's important. And also, would you say that since coming into office, these new faces there brought back confidence in these institutions that otherwise Kenyans were referring to some massage parlors? Remember EACC being called that?
Yes. Yeah. Miriam, first and foremost, we have to realize that corruption in Kenya is a devious dragon. And for that very, very reason, corruption fights back quite aggressively. And therefore, there's a need for cooperation between the DCI, the DPP, the EACC, the Financial Reporting Center, the Central Bank, and any other relevant authority that is mandated with reporting and combating any corruption-related activities. And if they are not united, then corruption is gonna overwhelm us, and those who are perpetrators of corruption will have their way and say. And I remember the last time the president met the two offices, that is the DPP and the DCI, and at that time we had an escalation of misunderstanding between the two offices. He called upon them to work in cooperation, to work in harmony, to ensure that we have speedy prosecution of corruption cases, to ensure that they are able to share intelligence, and the cases, corruption cases, have a very, very strong backing in terms of investigation, in terms of evidence, in terms of tracking down how public money is able to slide away from public coffers. So to me, I think that is the most important thing that they should do, cooperation and working together without any kind of friction between the two offices, because they have a common purpose, they have a common agenda and a common objective, which is to fight corruption and be able to eliminate it from our public entities and ensure that Kenya is a corruption-free country for the benefit of its own people. Talking about the image of the Office of Director of Public Prosecution and the DCI, I think we have taken a flight from the previous notion where people saw these agencies as a toothless dog and one that could not even be able to quell the rampant corruption that has really spread its tentacles through our system. And today, if any leader or any public servant heard that the DPP and the DCI were on their case, then there will be a lot of panic and, of course, fears. And it is only during the tenure of the current DPP and the DCI that we've had a phrase coming up called the Kamata Kamata Friday and Thursday, where leaders who are found in corruption quagmire are always hunted down on Friday and Thursday and put in police cells until Mondays, when they are arraigned in court and their cases are heard. So I think it's a new move in the right direction, Miriam, and this really raises the kind of confidence that Kenyans have in those particular agencies, and with that, even it will embolden Kenyan citizens to also join the fight against corruption and be able to report any corruption activity that might be taking place wherever they are. And I believe if we have such unilateral cooperation from the citizenry to the agencies that are fighting corruption to the goodwill of the political class, then corruption will be a thing of the past in the coming days. So it's only when we work in coordination, when we share a common dream, when we support the government of the day in fighting the corruption and also the agencies that are mandated to do this kind of job, then we shall have quite a reduced number in terms of corruption cases, and we shall save a lot of public money, which otherwise has been going to the pockets of a few unscrupulous individuals, greedy individuals, who are out there to only enrich themselves at the costs and the lives of the Kenyan people.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you. So some of the strategy that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution has adopted to ensure a successful case, a successful fight against corruption in the country include establishment of specialized division to handle corruption cases. Number 2, strategic focus on high-impact cases. Number 3, establishment of the Proceeds of Crime Recovery Unit. Number 4, involvement of experts from across different fields, as we have seen there. Number 5, asset recovery. Number 6, adoption of alternatives to prosecution, such as plea bargaining and deferred prosecutions. Number 7, among other measures, I think. So let's look at number 3. That is establishment of the Proceeds of Crime Recovery Unit. I don't know. My question is to you, Karanja. Once they're able to recover these proceeds, of crime, should we have like a specific initiative that this money is channeled to do? Maybe infrastructure somewhere. Maybe digging boreholes, something, so that people can see. You see, this is the money, your money that was stolen, but this is what it's been able to do, so that you're able to see tangible, tangible profits from the monies that have been recovered. What do you think? How should this money be used, or these proceeds be used?
Yeah, thank you, Miriam. And that is a very good question, especially at this time, because we have this money that even in the document that you are reading, I think that they have recovered a significant good amount of money. And Miriam, we know Kenyans might not understand what that means, that money have been recovered that was stolen for them, unless they show we have something that will make them maybe understand how this money was utilized. Because at the end of the day, we can recover the money from corruption, and then that money should later be used in another form of corruption dealing. Therefore, I think your point is good, and I feel like we as Kenyans, we need to be shown where this money is going after it has been recovered, where it has been, how has it been used. And my kind of recommendation could be that money could be used, one, for advocacy, should be used in the media, print media, social media, and the other form of media to enlighten Kenyans on the importance of a corrupt-free nation. That I think we should work well, because at the end of the day, this kind of information is what Kenyans need to understand so that they can fear engaging in this kind of corruption proceeding. Number 2, it can be used to do the campaigns and this corruption kind of free corruption kind of campaign, where we can go to the community level and have kind of engagement with the local wananchi, and we talk to them. The government should have agents who can talk to them one-on-one, so that we tell them the impact, the negative effect, the benefits, the merits, and the demerits of corruption and of corruption-free kind of a country. Also, it can be used in the school, because in the BBI recommendations, they are saying that the students will get those kind of books and kind of brochures where they read more about the importance of avoiding engaging in corruption kind of activities. Therefore, I think that is one of the way those money should be used. Number 2, they need to have some kind of project where we can have the Kenyans who have been used as whistleblowers. I think they can get something from that amount, so that they can continue the spirit of engaging in a mind that is sober-minded, so that we can have people who will be real whistleblowers getting rewarded. I think they can get something from that kind of amount that is recovered from corruption proceedings, so that we motivate them to act like kind of an incentive, so that we motivate them to continue giving more information, so that even other Kenyans who might have information leading to the arrest of a corrupt individual who is a public officer or in other sector of the government, they can come up out without fear, because at the end of the day, they will be protected. They can kind of a witness protection to the whistleblowers. And the number three, I think also that you have said, I think we should have that kind of project that could be started by the government from that money, so that at the end of the day, like the amount of money, like in the case of Kimorel and the Roll dams, so after recovering that money, we can have other kind of projects like dams being constructed, like the Gurana Kuralu kind of project being surfaced with that amount, so that Kenyans will see that this amount was lost, but because of the agency, this recovery agency, we have recovered this amount that have been used to construct a certain roads in some places, to construct some other projects, government projects, to sponsor government projects that are helpful to the people of Kenya. Because Miriam, this money, when they are stolen from the public stores and the public coffers, they are used by individuals. Therefore, Kenyans are denied basic facilities. Therefore, if this money, after being recovered, they can be channeled back to the original, also they can be channeled back to the original project that they were supposed to do. Like in the case of Kimorel, if we recover that money, then we can go on continuing with that project, because that project was to benefit the people of such counties, as the culprits have jail sentences and that they suffer other punitive measures. That could my take and observation, and I submit.
All right, very well. And your last point, they are saying that the money, once recovered, should be channeled back to the initial projects that they were supposed to be funding. Would perhaps, and you've given the example of Kimorel and Arol dams, that case is still in the courts. At the end of the day, Mwananchi may not be following too much if this money was recovered or not. But if they see that dam being built and finished, and then the leader come out and say, you see, they said the money was stolen. Not really. Can't you see, the dam has been completed, so they will not know if this was coming from the proceeds of the money that was recovered or not. I'm just thinking out, and I'm just thinking loud, but I understand your point. Professor, in this regard, establishment of the process of crime recovery unit, this money is because we understand the fight against corruption is very important, but Kenyans right now, you tell them fight against corruption, and they think, hiyo ni kazi ya mtukufu rais, Uhuru Kenyatta and his government. I have no stakes in that. But they don't understand. Kenyans, we don't understand. For the fight against corruption to be successful, we have a bigger stake. We have a bigger stake. We have to be aware, and we must know that corruption is not welcome, and there has to be that sensitization, and we must be part of the process and part of the fight against corruption for truly the fight against corruption to be effective and to be successful in this country. So in this regard, when they recover this money, Professor, if they went and, some of the options there and the opinions that Jevan had shared, and the one that I had initially said, and they take this money, they take it back to the communities, and they put it on something that will have a direct impact to the people, and they say, you see this money, your governor had stolen it, but we've recovered it, and now you can enjoy water, and now you can enjoy a good road, and now because we've come and we put this money back so that you're able to benefit. Things like this, could they work as an incentive to encourage Kenyans even to be part of the fight against corruption, or will that work? Professor?
Miriam,
we have to bring them along.
To fight corruption, Miriam, let us not leave anyone behind. Mm-hmm. Let us people realize to know that there are some benefits of fighting corruption and some benefits of being part of it, being part of that war. After having saying that, Miriam, what I will say that this money my thoughts are not much different from Daniel, from Javan, is that the money should be channeled back to go and fight more about corruption. Miriam, we know very well that the funding of corruption, they are not properly funded. So the money should be channeled back, and we should have a law to that effect, Miriam, that we should have project which the Wananchi should be able to see this money was lost, it has been recovered, it has been able to do this, so that we can be able to motivate them, so that they can be able to know that once we win the war against corruption, there are some benefits. So I agree with you that the money should be channeled back to that corruption, so that they can be able to enhance, have more civic education, have more involvement, Miriam. And even Miriam, even the year those criminal justice actors, they are budgeted in the subsequent year, if their money they can be able to increase, so that we hive the fight against corruption. That will be a very brilliant idea, so that the Wananchi can be able to see that this one has happened. In terms of what we are trying to say, that this money should be put on corporate social responsibility, so that if a company or an organization makes more profit, Miriam, out of that profit, Miriam, they just go and take it to the village. So it's good that the anti-corruption should be given that money in terms of corporate social responsibility, so that they can be able to have some projects which the people of Kenya can see that if we support anti-corruption and they recover the money, there is something which they can be able to fix.
Mm-hmm. And maybe that will encourage more Kenyans to be whistleblowers.
Correct.
Daniel.
Correct.
Daniel keep disappearing. I guess it's
Yes, Mary, I'm getting you. I think it's a very, very good suggestion. And of course, when you talk about whistleblowing, most cases in Kenya have always gone under the drain and gotten forgotten because the whistleblowers have not been protected. And therefore, there has been a lot of interference in terms of bribery, intimidation, as well as just feeling that it's not a rewarding cause anyway, after all, because as a whistleblower, we have to create an incentive for them. We have to make sure that they feel more confident. You could be reporting about something about someone who is your boss, and in case it backfires on you, then perhaps there is no guarantee that you're going to be keeping that job. And that has been quite an impediment to fully prosecuting corruption cases successfully. So I believe whatever that is there in the BBI report about whistleblower protection, and as well as also the BBI talks about, Miriam, digitization of reporting of some of cases. You don't have to go there yourself. You just have to log into a platform and you anonymously report these kind of corruption activities. And also, it encourages Kenyans to report corruption based on their spirit of nationhood and the spirit of patriotism, and not to do it with ill intent or maybe witch hunt. I believe that now will draw a very clear line, because you understand, as much as also we talk about whistleblowing and reporting corruption scandals, we also have people who could be wrongfully be reporting others for corruption-related matters just for the sake of maybe settling scores. So it really puts a very clear demarcation on how we should proceed with this. And I believe if we get everything right, if we do things according to the law, and as recommended in the BBI report, I believe the war on corruption won't be biased. The war on corruption will be based on substance, and we shall have even very, very substantial evidence which will be able to ensure that whenever we bring a corruption case before the corridors of justice, it will be able to smoothly sail through all the way to the judgment, and those who are found culpable will be able to serve their time in jail and also perhaps maybe pay back whatever that they have stolen from the people of Kenya.
So some of the challenges on that report that was presented to President Uhuru Kenyatta, the progress report by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, there, some of the challenges they highlighted in the course of their work is, among others, state officials charged with corruption remaining in office, slow judicial processes, legislative gaps, and inadequate witness facilitation. And I think you've spoken about that, Daniel. So let's look at state officials charged with corruption remaining in office. And we saw some rulings that set precedents, like that one of a Kiambu governor. It started there with Waititu when he was charged and he was told, you cannot step into the office. And that, I think, was the first that we've seen in that. And since then, we have seen several others coming, and the judges followed that precedent. So why is this important, in terms of when we even looking at BBI and in the fight against corruption? And I know there's a bill already in Parliament with the same, I think, criminal, what is it called? Financial crimes bill, I think, like that. It's in Parliament and it's being discussed. And I think it has one of those proposals there that state officials charged with corruption remaining in office, that has been an impediment in the workings of, the fight against corruption, especially during investigations. So why should this be made into a law that if you're a state official and you've been charged with corruption, until you're found not to be guilty, you are not to step into your office? Should we have this in our law, Professor? Yes?
Miriam, that one is a good piece of law, because, Miriam, some junior officers in government, once they have been charged in the court, Miriam, they are interdicted and they are on half pay. So the senior members, like the governors, you have been charged. Again, if you go back to the office, Miriam, chances are you will.
Professor, we're having a bit of a problem there with our sound, but I think you're back now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that, Miriam, the law should apply across the board. We have had junior government officers, civil servants, when they are charged, Miriam, they are interdicted and they are half pay until they are cleared. Then you come to cases to do with governors or even some of the ministers, Miriam. You are charged, you go, you put a bond, and then you come back to the office. One, chances are you will intimidate those junior workers. By the time the cases are over, you probably have even been sacked. So you are not supposed to go back to the office so that you can interfere with the witnesses or interfere with the documents. And I was making the case and saying that we have had cases where people have gone to the office and they have even interfered with the computer, Miriam, completely, that you cannot get access to information.
So Zuri's case, remember, not to.
That's exactly what it is. So Miriam, this is where we have found some gaps, and if we can tighten it through the Financial Crimes Act, it will be very important. It will towards strengthening the fight against corruption. And this is where I salute Justice Mumbi, because he gave that ruling, and because of that ruling, the governor for Samburu does not go to the office; he sees it from far. The governor for Nairobi, Governor Songo, it is just because he has got want to put a good brave face. He doesn't step in the office. The governor for Migori, he does not go to the office. The former governor for Kiambu, he was told you don't go to the office, and the people for Kiambu said, now we are not going to follow you we do your cases. So Miriam, this one will also ensure that those senior officers, public officers who are in charge and who are responsible for the running of their ministries, their departments, Miriam, once they know that they cannot go back to the office, perhaps they can behave. And in cases to do with some of the governors, I know the ruling of Waititu, the one for Samburu, for even for Songo, I think it has given some bit of some learning, and we should proceed to have that law in operation, Miriam.
Yes,
it will deter.
That is,
it will act as deterrence, and we will be able to protect the experts.
Yes.
We will be able to protect the witnesses, Miriam.
And that is if the governors don't get their demand, that they're not.
And that's why they are saying that they don't. That's why they are saying we don't want to get responsible, criminal responsible.
No. President Uhuru Kenyatta, sir, please don't even consider that madness. That will be bad for the people of Kenya. President Uhuru Kenyatta, I know you mean well for this country, and I'm sure you will not even give ear to that point there by our governors. Karanja, these challenges that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions cited as some of the things that really stand in the way of doing their work effectively, and that is state officials charged with corruption still remaining in office, slow judicial processes, legislative gaps, and inadequate witness facilitation. How can, perhaps the government, or how can these problems be best addressed, from your opinion? Just pick one.
Yeah, and thank you, Miriam. And I think the DPP is quite open and honest, because when we have these members of parliament or governors who are accused of corruption cases going back to the office, the best they can do is to interfere with the witnesses, is to interfere with the files. And Miriam, we'll see a scenario whereby they will also ban the offices and ban the financial office, so that
financial
some of the
and
files
human resource, yeah. They usually ban the financial office and human resource. I don't know,
yes,
for some weird reason. That is also what happened in Makerere, but leave that alone. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Jevan. Finish your point. Okay. Go ahead.
And I think they should be banned completely from, if you are accused of corruption cases, that should be the end of your public service, unless you are cleared by the court, you are cleared by the DPP that you are innocent, and that you can continue serving the people of the Republic of Kenya. Miriam, if these people are around to continue with this kind of thing.
Oh, wow. We seem to be having a bit of a problem there, Javen. We have lost you there, but once you're able to join us back, and then you will complete your thought. Daniel, still on the same, some of these challenges that the ODPP
they will come out and blackmail even the whistleblowers, and at that.
Javen, we're having a problem with the reception. Yeah, so how can some of these challenges be addressed?
Yes, Miriam, I believe whatever that has been put there in the BBI report, I'll base much on whatever BBI report says, because perhaps that is what is aiming at solving the problems that we have in regards to fighting corruption. And you saw the other day when the legislators were having a retreat in Naivasha, President Uhuru Kenyatta even tried to move away from whatever even the BBI is recommending in terms of time duration in which our courts should be able to prosecute these cases. And he said corruption cases should take a maximum of 6 months. And of course, as someone who has been here for quite some time, you understand that in Kenya, corruption cases have really been dragging until now. You find even those ones who've been accused of stealing public money. Sometimes some of them even die before justice is served to the people. And an example is the Golden Bag scandal, the Anglo-Lisi, and also Waluke's case, which dragged on for quite a long time before finally now it came to be settled. But if we can have a quick fire when it comes to solving these corruption cases, then people will know that once you steal public money and the wheels of justice catch up with you, it's only a matter of time before you are charged and you equally meet your share of justice in the corridor in the courts. So to me, I think when you check the time frame, and also Javan was talking about protection of the whistleblowers and the witnesses to the corruption cases. I believe that is a very essential part of it, because these people who are whistleblowers are the ones who really give these cases the muscle to be able to move through the process of justice and ultimately have the ground of being prosecutable. So when you check on also that, I believe we shall be able to achieve more. And lastly, it is the goodwill of the people of Kenya and also the goodwill of the government of the day. Because as I said, we've been having previous government, Moi's government, Kibaki's government, but there has been no any other government which has shown some willingness and the goodwill to fight corruption more than President Uhuru's government. So if we can make laws that make sure that it does not depend on the goodwill of the government of the day, but it is exposed in our constitution to make sure that the government combats corruption regardless of who is involved, then I believe we shall make a very great milestone in making sure that we grow a society which is defined by integrity, transparency, and the rule of law. So those three pillars, I believe, could assist quite in some way and a very great way in that aspect to combat corruption, Miriam.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. Your final thoughts, and we'll start with Javen because he was not able to complete his thoughts. So you can complete your thought, Javen, and then give me your final thought if you can hear us.
Yeah, thank you, Miriam. And I can hear you loud and clear.
Good.
And I was saying this, we should make it clear that if you are accused of corruption cases, you should only step to that office when you have been charged free and you are not guilty of any corruption proceedings. Therefore, that is something that is quite significant and as a challenge, as the DPP says, is a challenge to them. Therefore, the laws should make it clear that you should not go to office unless you're cleared by the law officers and those people who are responsible for that case in dealing with the corruption cases. Miriam, the corruption in this country will be fought and the war on corruption will be won if we have a kind of combination from all sectors of life, from all sectors of the government and from the people of Republic of Kenya. That is the way we will win this war on corruption. Number two, we should also stop political kind of keep using political field as a scapegoat to the case of corruption. We have seen politicians who, after being mentioned in corruption cases, they learn to their tribal cocoons, they learn to their ethnic and community grounds, and they start saying that our community is being targeted. We saw it happened when our MD of the Kenyan or something there, and that people from his tribe, they came out burning out, and they said that our men are being targeted, and this is not fair. And we saw that being a very bad setback in the war against corruption. So the political goodwill is something that is a core in the fight against corruption. Because Miriam, if these politicians willingly and they love this nation, as some of Kenyans do, then they can be in front line of championing for the spirit of patriotism. Because when you're patriotic to your nation, you cannot steal from it. You cannot do such kind of things. Miriam, number three, and this is very significant, is the people of the Republic of Kenya. After having those laws, we must make sure that if you have been caught and you have been proved to be a corrupt individual, you should not run for any elective position. You should not serve the Republic of Kenya in any capacity. And your rightful place where you can deal and you can lead is in jail, because that there you can get the mandate of leading other prisoners there. That is the right place where they belong, and they don't belong to any elective position. And the laws should make it clear. And the people of Kenya must make it their responsibility to support the government in the fight against corruption, and to support the government in ensuring that we elect leaders who are corrupt-free. And when we go for that ballot, we must understand that good roads, good health facilities, a corrupt-free nation is on the decision that we make on the ballot. Because Miriam, if we continue voting for these individuals who are corrupt, this cycle will not end. It will only end if we vote for persons who are corrupt, free-minded, people who stand for something, people who stand for revolutions, people who stand for a country that is united. Those are the only people who can fight corruption. It will not fought by individuals who are beneficiaries of corruption. Therefore, this is the responsibility of Kenyan citizens to ensure that we have good leaders in the helm of leadership so that we can continue working with them in the eliminating and eradicating the corruption in this country. That is my final submission. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We'll go to Daniel again, and then Professor will conclude for us.
Yes, I think Miriam Javan has quite brought on the table a very quintessential point. And from my end, I feel that corruption, when we want to start to fight corruption, let us do whatever President Uhuru Kenyatta is doing. Let us start from the head, because they say the fish starts rotting from the head. When we can start fighting corruption from the top echelon of our society, the top leadership, and showing the hoi polloi at the bottom that in the war against corruption, there is no holy cow, then perhaps that will create a very good perhaps perception about the war on corruption. And from that now we can be able to trickle down and boil down the war and the strategy that we are using in fighting corruption to each and every department of government until we reach the basic and the grassroots of governance in our country, to the village level, and be able also now to do whatever the BBI report is recommending, that we inculcate the art of integrity, the virtue of being transparent, and just loving one's country, in that you cannot be able to be a responsible citizen if you allow corruption to take root in whichever capacity that you are involved in. So I believe with that, doing that through integrating it in our education system through the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development and other stakeholders, we shall be able to teach our children that it is moral to engage from an integrity point of view. It is very good for your country when you report cases which are which reek of corruption, and that way, when we can when we approach it from that particular basic unit, from schools, from the family unit, from the church, then I believe we shall be building a society which is so much aware of the dangers of corruption and the goodness of being a responsible citizen, and the kind of prosperity you can achieve as a nation when you put your heads together, when you anchor yourself on the path of gaining integrity and being a very good citizen in terms of the way you engage and the way you perceive corruption and its retrogressive impacts on society. So I think each and everyone has to take a role. The government of the day has to do whatever it takes to fight corruption. The agencies which are mandated by the government to fight corruption also have to be able to take up their mandate and account for each and every amount of money which is pumped into such particular entity to combat corruption. And also the political class and the citizenry has to rise to the occasion and be able to support the relevant authorities in fighting corruption. So really, it is not a fight that is mandated only to one part of the nation, but each and every one of us, we have to be team players. We have to take our roles. We have to realize that this nation belongs to all of us. And therefore, if we allow corruption to rip apart our moral fabric and our financial sectors and other maybe sectors which are so important to our national development, then we are losing a country that our future generation will have so much love to inherit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Daniel Besonga. Professor?
Yeah, Miriam, my take on this is that let us make corruption very expensive venture. That once you enter there, you saw like the Waruke case, only someone who has got a memory of a wathdog will continue to involve himself in corruption, because wait until you are humbled the way Waruke was humbled, Miriam. So what we need to know, Miriam, the agencies which are charged with fighting corruption, Miriam, they have got financial constraints. We should be able to think that we'll be able to finance them, because media corruption is very complex. I have told you that some of this money which is rooted in this country, Miriam, it is not put here in Kenya. It is put in offshore accounts which are far away, and Miriam, this investigating officers must be able to go to those countries, have relations with international relations with those governments, so that they can be able to assess. That's one. Another thing, Miriam, even the staffing, I said that even some of these charge agencies, even the DPP, Miriam, is having limited number of prosecutors. So that one also needs to be looked into it, Miriam. Also, there's also negative perception from the members of the public. Yaani wa Kenya, they have given up, Miriam. Unasikia ukimwambia na kuambia sasa corruption uwezi, hakuna kitu utafanya. You know, now they have given up, Miriam. And when people have lost hope and trust in something, Miriam, there's not much need to be done on negative perception. And Miriam, this one will be done by public education. That's why we're recommending that some of this money which is recovered, Miriam, should go back, so that it can be able to educate people. Some of those proceeds, Miriam, what we say, that can be put into projects which the wananchi can see it happening, Miriam. Also, Miriam, we have also to strengthen our legal system framework. And you have heard every now, Miriam, everybody is pointing at the judiciary. The judiciary is the problem. Judiciary is the problem. So let us amend the laws, Miriam, the way we are proposing PPI and through the financial management crime, so that, Miriam, it is very clear that when the case goes to court, it has been properly investigated. We have the prosecutors, we have got timelines, and even if, Miriam, it is the judges that and the magistrates that we don't have, let's also that it also be attended to. Miriam, also let us also come with a clear policy on how we have to fight crime. We must be able to know when you have gotten this kind of case you are going to investigate, you don't investigate for life. There must be timeline. There must be kind of a charter that when you once receive this is how you progress, and they must be able to give us information. And we would also like to encourage what the DPP has done, the Director of Public Prosecution, giving us the status and the brief. In fact, he should not be able to wait for 3 years. He should be able to do it yearly. So that's when you can be able to see, can compare. No, when you put for 3 years, even the president who is in office is almost going home. So if he can be able to have them yearly, it will be something which will need to be done. So I conclude by saying, Miriam, that Kenyans, we need to change our behavior. We need to change our perception. We need to improve the morale of Kenyans. We need to change our thinking, and we need to agree that something can be done. Let us not have somebody like when you see the office so and so is corrupt. Unasikia Mkenya akikwambia kwani yeye peke yake ndio ako ameiba. You know that kind of crooked thinking, Miriam. The fact that someone stole yesterday, so we make it very normal. So much needs to be done so that, Miriam, our behavior needs to change. We must be able to have a feeling and a perception that we have to hate corruption, Miriam. We have to detest. If we have this kind of passion, Miriam, and even the wish of prove us, Miriam, that once they report the cases, Miriam, they should be protected. So that, Miriam, you don't just report the case and you put your life in jeopardy. So much needs to be done on witness protection, Miriam, so that people can be able to be willing to give the information. And the crime, Miriam, corruption must be punished, and it should be made expensive. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Jared Onyari. Thank you, Daniel Wesonga, and also thank you there, Jovan Karanja from Nanyuki. And now, from what we've been looking at this report, the progress report that was presented to President Uhuru Kenyatta there, and some of the things that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions have been able to achieve, it is therefore right to say that the monetary value of cases pending before the courts for the period covered by the report means that the work of the ODPP is clear-cut, and a lot more needs to be done in order to get more convictions and recover more of the lost public assets, as well as a multi-agency approach in the fight against corruption, we can see is yielding fruits, and Kenyans and the agencies involved need to continue supporting this very important cause. And from what we've been talking about, and we've been pointing fingers to, especially using the governors and other senior government officials and elected leaders, Kenyans, perhaps we need to look at the criteria and how we elect our leaders. It's very important. It's very important. I know they say we get the leaders we deserve. Some of these people, they don't deserve to be our leaders. No, clearly, we need to change the criteria so that we are able to put the right people there. Crucial, to be our governors, to be our members of parliament, to be our MCAs, to be people that have the character and have our interest at heart, not their interest, like what you're seeing with our governors. I still can't get over the fact, Professor, that they want us to give them 2 cars. And on top of that, keep replacing it every 4 years. My mind can't even wrap itself around that. And also, Kenya have to realize that we have a stake in the fight against corruption. And by seeing a lot of CSAs and this high-profile government officials being prosecuted and facing their day in court, that has gone to, remove that notion that, only the other Kenyans, those are the people who get prosecuted, those are the people who go to court. These high conviction cases, perhaps, has gone to show that nobody is immune. If you steal, we are coming for you, and we want our money, and we'll take your cars, and we'll take your houses, and they will be auctioned, and that money will go to build, to get a dam somewhere in Kimwarel, which, by the way, we didn't talk about, but we shall relook, somewhat, because this is a conversation that we shall continue having. Thank you so much for your time, and we can meet here sometimes later. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Bye-bye for now.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.